Right. So gather round, folks, because this is a big one. You know Amazon, right? The company that sells you everything from books you'll never read to that inflatable T-Rex costume you bought at 3 a.m.? Yes, that Amazon. Well, they've packed up their entire American operation, put it in a massive cardboard box, presumably with Prime shipping, and scarpered. This isn't a drill. The Eagle hasn't just landed. It's ordered a one-way ticket to anywhere but here, and the panic is palpable. Amazon in America wasn't just a company, it was an ecosystem. Millions of Prime subscribers, hundreds of fulfillment centers, and a delivery network that made Santa's annual jaunt look like a leisurely stroll. For them to just up and leave? It's like finding out your right arm has resigned, effective immediately. The shockwaves are causing seismic disruptions across the entire nation, from Wall Street to your local Main Street. The announcement was delivered with the kind of corporate blandness that usually accompanies news of a slightly disappointing quarterly profit. Strategic realignment, they probably called it, or optimizing global operational footprint. The implications are staggering. The political fallout is already messy, and the only thing certain is that a whole lot of people are currently wondering what the hell just happened and what on earth happens next. So, let's talk tariffs, specifically Donald Trump's tariffs. These weren't just any old import duties. These were Trump tariffs, TM, often announced via early morning tweet. The stated goals were grand and patriotic. They aimed to protect American industries and punish unfair trade practices. America first was the rallying cry. The tariffs were slapped on a vast array of goods: steel, aluminum, washing machines, solar panels, and more. The idea was to make American-made goods more competitive. If foreign goods cost more, people would buy American, right? Well, not quite. American businesses relying on imports saw their costs skyrocket. And guess who ultimately pays for those increased costs? Yes, you, the consumer. For Amazon, this was a slow-motion train wreck. Amazon's business model relies on a vast global supply chain. These tariffs were a direct hit to the bottom line. So why did Amazon finally snap? Their official statements, no doubt crafted by a legion of lawyers and PR professionals, probably talked about untenable operating costs and the need to ensure long-term shareholder value. Translated from corporatese, that means we're losing a boatload of money, and this whole tariff thing is a giant, expensive pain in our collective backside. The tariffs, which were supposed to be a negotiating tactic or a short-term measure, had instead become a permanent fixture of the economic landscape, a constant drain on resources, and a significant impediment to the smooth flow of goods that is Amazon's lifeblood. It simply became too expensive to keep playing the game in the American sandbox. The decision to leave wasn't just about the immediate financial hit, though that was undoubtedly huge. It was a strategic move, a recognition that the American market, under this particular brand of economic nationalism, was no longer a predictable or rational place to conduct business on such a massive scale. They essentially voted with their feet, or rather, with their fulfillment centers and corporate HQs, sending a rather stark message that some policies have very, very real consequences. Now, let's imagine the scene in, say, Mar-a-Lago, or wherever the former and potentially future president happened to be when this news broke. You can almost hear the sputtering, the frantic search for the phone, the thumbs already composing furious all-caps messages. Trump's reaction to Amazon's departure was, to put it mildly, entirely predictable, yet still somehow breathtaking in its sheer Trumpiness. The initial barrage on Truth Social, or whatever platform he's currently gracing with his unfiltered thoughts, was likely a masterclass in deflection and outright denial. Amazon was never any good. Failing company. I heard they were leaving anyway. Bad for America. Good riddance. You know the drill. Then came the blame game, because nothing, absolutely nothing, is ever Donald Trump's fault. It would have been Amazon's fault for being disloyal or greedy. It would have been the fake news media for reporting it. The truth is, the departure of Amazon under the shadow of his tariff policies is a direct repudiation of his economic strategy. And the panic isn't just in the markets. It's emanating directly from the man who sees himself as the ultimate dealmaker, now faced with a deal spectacularly gone wrong. The economic reverberations of Amazon packing its bags and leaving the United States were, to put it mildly, immediate and brutal. Wall Street, which has a nervous disposition at the best of times, reacted as if it had seen a ghost. The ghost of Christmas future, perhaps, where all storefronts are boarded up and tumbleweeds roll down Fifth Avenue. Amazon's own stock, naturally, would have taken a colossal hit initially, though its long-term prospects would depend on how successfully it re-established itself elsewhere. But the real story was the contagion. The Dow, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, they all would have plunged as investors grappled with the sheer scale of this corporate exodus and what it signified for the American economy. The impact on the gross domestic product, GDP, would be a subject of frantic calculation by economists everywhere. Losing a company of Amazon's magnitude isn't just a flesh wound, it's an amputation. Now, let's talk about the people, the actual human beings. Because behind the stock tickers and the corporate statements are hundreds of thousands of American workers whose lives have just been thrown into utter chaos. Amazon was one of the largest private employers in the United States. We're talking about folks in the massive fulfillment centers, the ones packing your boxes and ensuring your 2-day shipping actually arrived in 2 days. We're talking about the delivery drivers, part of the ever-expanding logistics network. And we're talking about the tens of thousands in corporate offices, in tech development, in customer service, all suddenly facing unemployment. The sheer scale of the job losses would be devastating. Entire communities have become reliant on Amazon facilities as major sources of employment. In some towns, the local Amazon warehouse isn't just big employer, it's big employer. So what does a post-Amazon America, or at least a significantly Amazon-diminished America, even look like? In the short term, it's probably a mess. Consumers, accustomed to next-day delivery and an endless online aisle, would face disruption. Prices for many goods, already pushed up by tariffs, could rise further as competition decreases and supply chains are reconfigured. Other retailers might try to fill the void, but none have Amazon's scale or infrastructure, meaning a potentially less efficient, more expensive, and more fragmented retail landscape. It would be an adjustment, and not a particularly pleasant one for a nation hooked on convenience. Longer term, the questions become even more profound. Can the United States economy truly adapt to such a seismic shift? Will new, innovative American companies rise to take Amazon's place? Or will the vacuum be filled by foreign competitors who are now less inclined to invest heavily in the US market? There's a real danger that the America First approach, if it leads to outcomes like this, could inadvertently cede technological and commercial leadership to other nations. The innovation and investment that Amazon represented, even with all its controversies, would be a massive loss to the domestic ecosystem. The future could involve a painful relearning of the lesson that in a deeply interconnected global economy, no nation, not even the United States, can truly go it alone without facing significant and often self-inflicted consequences.